was pretty awesome. What a joy to have, Shabbat come into wherever it is that you're at. Doesn't matter how many locks you have on your door, Shabbat can still enter. And that's pretty sweet. So, it's interesting. There's a lot of us, but we're not really together. So we're not reading Torah from Torah right now. We're going to hold off on that until we get 10 people together in our sanctuary. That'll be a nice day. That'll be a very nice day. The world will be different. Things will be changed when we come out. Let's hope that this is like a cocoon for us and people will come out of it more butterfly than caterpillar. But it takes a lot of work, but it also takes vision and it takes understanding to be able to make this better than it was before. There are really good insights in this week's Torah portion. This is a special one for Passover. Passover marks, the plagues, and we went through the Red Sea, but shortly after the Red Sea, we came to Mount Sinai, and we got the original 10 Commandments. And so the readings throughout the days sort of talk about that. This one for Shabbat is after Moses has been on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, and came down, and there was this golden calf, and he had these tablets. The tablets were heavy tablets, but they were written with the word from the finger of God, and the letters that were on them sort of came from heaven, so they uplifted the tablets. So Moses was like more holding the tablets down on earth as he descended the mountain. And when the letters saw all the sins that we did, the letters said, this isn't the right place for us right now. When they went boom, 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 right up, and the rocks became so heavy, Moses couldn't hold them, and they fell down and broke. Things were changed. Mindy, can you close the door, please?
Sure.
Things were changed. It's a new world. How is God going to respond to us? Well, there was punishment to pay for our acts. But afterwards, God invited Moses back up, and that's where this Torah portion takes place. First, God shows Moses some things about the way God works. You can't see God, but you can see all the things that God does. And then God says, I want you to take a couple of tablets, and I want you to write on them. And it's interesting that these are the second version of the 10 Commandments, version 2. The words are exactly the same, but they're very, very different than the first ones. How can that be that the words are exactly the same, but they're very, very different? Well, first of all, the fact that the words are the same is an expression of God's graciousness, that God gives us another chance. God doesn't say, well, I'm going to make it stricter this time. I'm going to throw some punishments in. They're the same words as the first time, because God's words are kind of eternal. Regardless of what we do, God's words are eternal. And we get that. We get that right afterwards, we learn some aspects about God. And we say them at the holidays. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed, Yotzei Chesed L'Alafim, Nosei Avon V'Pesha V'Chata'a V'Nakeh. We learn that God, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, God is a merciful God who gives compassion, and God is kind of long-suffering. God has a lot of patience for our mistakes. But God extends mercy to thousands and thousands of generations of our people. It's kind of sweet to know that God is like that God created us knowing that we're going to make mistakes, and God is patient for it, and God has mercy for us. So what's the difference between the first set of 10 commandments and the second set of 10 commandments? The words are the same. What's the difference? Well, in the first set, God brought the rocks, and it was written Be'etzba Adonai, as though it were with the finger of God. God made the tablets appear and the letters appear on them. This time around, this is different. God says, Moses, you get 2 rocks and you hew them out. You carve them out just like the first ones, but you do it. And you carve the letters on it, same letters as in the first version. What's the difference? We don't operate very well in a world where God provides everything. We need to have some skin in the game. We need to not just have it handed to us, we need to invite God in. We need to do some of the work. It's kind of like, this is a really consistent aspect with the way God operates. If you look at every single time there was a change, when Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, God had provided all of our food for us. But when we left the Garden of Eden, we now had to eat by the sweat of our brow. Thistles and thorns were there, and we had to till it and to tend it. We had to have some skin in the game. Same world, more involvement from us. Even in the Noah story. In the Noah story, we had all kinds of corruption going down. And afterwards, the world right after, we have a greater responsibility. Do you have something on? Oh, there we go. We have a greater responsibility for caring for each other. And there are laws which are given to us which we didn't have before. We have more skin in the game. Similarly, we were slaves in Egypt. And beforehand, we didn't have the rules. And now, as we're coming to our own land, for the second time coming into our own land, we have guides. We have to follow along. We have to do certain things. That's what God is in this world. And this concept of partnering with God is all over the place. When we say a blessing, we don't, like the hamotzi, we don't say it over wheat, like you could have boiled wheat berries, or you don't say it over the wheat berries, you say it over the bread, which is the combination of humans and God. We say hamotzi lechem min haaretz, that God made it come out of the earth, but we do it over the thing that shows where we have skin in the game. Similarly, we don't say the blessing over grapes, but only over juice or wine, something where we've got skin in the game. That's what we've got to do in this world when we come out of this, the before and the after, the before quarantine and the after quarantine. We're going to be more like butterflies, but our task is to have more skin in the game. We need to see how the world could be and work for it. We need to take a stand. We need to speak up in roles of leadership in our community, however you define your community, because if good people don't stand up, then you only have greedy people and egotists that stand up and do things. People that don't have anything to lose. You have an insight. You need to stand up, take a stand, be involved. You need to take the stones yourself and carve them and write the words on them. We're not making up the words. Take the words that God is giving us. Take these words like, if you see your neighbor bleeding, don't just stand there and do nothing. Write those words down and live them. Take the words, remember you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Therefore you should love the stranger. Take these words and live them. Don't just assume that they're going to happen. We're going to come out of this and we're going to be butterflies, but only if we step up to the task. And God understands us, and God is long suffering and patient. And God knows we're going to make some mistakes, but make them. Do things, because you're going to do a whole lot more right. If you go out there and do things and make a couple of mistakes, you're going to do a whole lot more right. Wow. We're going to be butterflies. With that, I want to